So I did it, guys. I played through Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. It took me around 15 hours to do ish. I've beat the whole story. I've beat the post game, and I wanted to talk about my experience before I get out my big review that I'm going to be writing. And I feel really bad in saying this because I didn't want this to happen. I really didn't, but I just did not enjoy these games pretty much at all. And I'll get into that in a bit, but I just want to let you know that I didn't come into the game hating it. I came into the game being as open as humanly possible, and for the first 3 hours of the game or so, I actually had fun. Not only did it feel cool playing this new big Pokemon game in handheld form on one big screen on my Switch, but the pacing of everything and the story and meeting the characters, it just felt a bit more grand, and it made the game just feel better than past games. It introduces you to the legendaries, you get to go to the wild area, you get to go to that huge city, but it's the moment you start doing the gyms is when the game starts falling short, at least to me. And one of my main issues of the game is just how streamlined it is, to a point of it feeling like a shell of what Pokemon used to be. So you'll do a gym, then you'll step outside, then there's some random story on quotation marks, I'll get into that later, and then they just tell you, go to the next gym. And then that is basically the rest of the game. And the routes are really small this time. So once you've done, I would say the first 2 or 3 gyms, the levels of the Pokemon just don't go any higher for quite a bit in between the gyms. And it makes the difficulty just kind of non-existent. Also, I'm sorry if I'm rambling here. This is just me throwing out all of my thoughts at once before writing down my focused review. There's that Pokemon thing. There's the formula of the story. Like, it really is. You go out of a gym, and then a character will talk to you about this random thing, and then they'll tell you to go to the next gym. And that is it for the whole game. The worst part with the story is that it seems like the other characters are doing more fun stuff than you. So Leon, he's the champion, right? Everybody knows it. Let's say this explosion will happen somewhere, and you're like, oh no, what's that? I want to go to this explosion. Leon's just like, I'll take care of this. You go to the next gym. And that just happens for the whole game. And you just can't help but wonder how much more fun this game would be if you were just playing as Leon instead. Because they just tell you to go to the gyms and it's just really boring. Like, I didn't think the story would be more shallow than Pokemon X and Y, but it was. This has to be the most shallow story in the franchise. Nothing happens until you're literally about to beat the champion. And then, oh no, the chairman, who we never guessed was going to be evil, does something evil and you fight him once and then you fight Eternatus and then that's it. That's the climax of the game. And then the post game has some story stuff, but it feels really rushed. Whether that be music not playing at certain times, like cutscene music, a lot of the time. Music just does not play for that. And music is something I've got a big gripe with too with this game. Sometimes it feels like they cheap out and they don't make music for events where there should be music, or there's just not music where there usually is music in past Pokemon games. So if you remember in Sun and Moon, all of the towns had music for day and night. The routes didn't, which was still kind of a bummer, but all of the towns did. Well, this game just doesn't have that. They just ditched that system entirely, and I feel like that's just a shame. I feel like that was a good step forwards. I know Down the Pill did it, but then they ditched it afterwards. But Sun and Moon brought it back, and it just felt like a natural progression for the series. And that's just gone now. There's no bike music like there has been in every other Pokemon game. In Sun and Moon, it was the ride Pokemon music. There's no surf music. There's no music for climactic events. So when you're in the Pokemon League tournament, you fight Hop and Marnie, and they get new music tracks. But then you fight Bede, and Bede doesn't get a new music track, and it just feels like, what? Why? And then you've got the champion music, and I'm really sorry guys, but like this champion music just sounds not great. So they kind of ripped off Sun and Moon's idea, which I actually predicted to my friend before listening to it, and then he started laughing really hard because he knew I was right. They took like a main theme of Pokemon, and then they remixed it for the final battle theme. With Sun and Moon, they took the main theme and incorporated it in and remixed it a bit. But that made sense because you were the champion. You were the first champion of Alola, so it made sense that the theme would kind of be about you. It was, in essence, your theme. And it was also the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, so it felt like a good homage to the franchise. So I had no issue with it. But Sword and Shield just ripped that idea off for the Hall of Fame, and it's meant to be Leon's theme. It's not even meant to be your theme, because I've tried my hardest and you can't fight Leon at the championships again once you do it, and it never plays the music again. You fight him in the Battle Tower though, he's like the boss of the Battle Tower or something, but not in the Pokemon League. So that was meant to be Leon's theme, and it was just a really, really bare bones Hall of Fame remix, and it just didn't sound great. I'm going on record right now. I'm saying that's the worst champion theme in the franchise, bar none. The Howl one from Ultra Sun and Moon isn't my favorite, but it's a lot better than this in my opinion. Just not a fan of this one. It didn't feel like Leon's theme whatsoever. I've been complaining about the soundtrack quite a bit for Sword and Shield, but a lot of the music is growing on me, specifically the battle themes. I'm still not a big fan of the wild battle or trainer battle, but I've always liked the gym leader music. I think that's epic, and I think you've got these added layers of when it's on their last Pokemon, you get the crowd cheering and everything. And I think that's really cool and neat, and it takes advantage of you being in a football stadium and the region. That's cool. Quite a lot of the music tracks do that. I really dig that. I like Marnie's theme. This is one specific synth instrument that I dub the Mega Man 11 synth. That's something I'm not the biggest fan of, but you can get used to it if the composition is good enough. And I think Marnie's theme has a really good composition. I think the Pia's theme is really good. I think the Chairman Rose theme, while it didn't fit the event whatsoever, like seriously, it did not fit. There was no build-up or anything. The music was really good. Pokemon finally took full advantage of like a choir, and they put that into the music, and it was really, really cool. When I first heard it, I was just kind of blown away, like, holy crap, this is amazing. So that's a really good theme. And honestly, the music, like outside of battles as well, is really good. I know, what is it, the Slumbering Wields, really good. It's that forest area. Very, very, very good music. There's good root music, though there feels like there's less this time, but I might be wrong on that, so do not quote me on that, but it does feel like there is less than usual. Really good. Like, all of the like, you've got the bagpipes, you've got this Scottish feeling. It's cool. It's good. I've been talking about music for a while, but it's very important to me. So, music is a hit, and it's a miss, so we'll just have to see how that goes. I'm getting more used to the music, but the champion music, man, I was not a fan of that, and I still do not like the trainer battle theme. I think that's not good at all. I haven't had a lot of time to mess with the wild area yet. I was mainly focused on beating the story, so I haven't really got to witness a lot about the wild area. But as far as I can tell, all you can really do is fight Dynamax Pokemon and catch Pokemon in the wild. I don't know what else you can do, and I don't know how quickly that's gonna get boring. Like, you've seen everything already. I don't know how quickly that's gonna happen, so I'm gonna have to mess with that some more, but I'm not really confident that it's gonna change that much and give me a better sense of the game. I haven't touched the cooking or camping yet that I definitely need to check out. It just doesn't look like my thing. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I was just wanting to play the game normally. And here's another critique. I don't like that the towns look so big, but you can't really do anything in them. Like the main big town, that industrial one specifically, the first big town, there's nothing there. Like there's a few houses, a Pokemon Center, and then the stadium. That's it. It feels like the size of Pallet Town, but like the actual scale of it is really good. So it just was really disappointing that it felt cool being in the big cities, but then you can't really do anything in the big cities, and it's just kind of a shame. And you know, I've just noticed I haven't talked about the graphics, because while I was playing the game, honestly, the last thing that was on my mind was the graphics, and that's not a compliment. The game was just so mind-bogglingly boring that I just totally forgot about the graphics, but they're not great. The models for the Pokemon look fine. I've never doubted that. So the new Pokemon animations, a lot of them are really good, especially the signature moves for the 3 starter Pokemon. They look very solid, but the game graphically looks really not great. So it does apparently run at 1080p in docked, but it never felt like it, and that's because it's got a dynamic resolution. So I don't know how often it actually reaches 1080p. It just always felt like 720 to me. A lot of the time in the wild area, the casting of the shadow from the player to the floor just doesn't feel like it's strong enough or even there. So it looks like the player is floating off the ground. The trees, obviously, everybody's seen. They're in the game, and they look really, 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 really bad. The pop-in, and I know every game has pop-in, but this game specifically has pop-in that is so close that it is impossible not to see it. It is absolutely insane how short of a distance there is for the pop-in to happen. Like, Pokemon just pop up from nowhere. Like, they shrink from small to big, and it just looks kind of funny. And it is really distracting, especially in the towns. I specifically remember the first industrial town that I had this Onyx pop up in front of me, and I was like, oh my god. And then there's, like, trees do it too. Like, the berry trees do it, and it's just not great. Or you've got the issue with the ladder. When you climb on the ladders, all the models pause around you, and it's like a lot of these graphical hiccups that are present throughout the whole game. There's a lot of stuff like this, and it's obvious that Game Freak must have seen it, but then either just decided against it, or the game was rushed so they couldn't fix it. But either way, it's very clear that they knew the issues. There's no way the ladder issue specifically is something they didn't notice. And if that was something that they definitely noticed, then what else did they notice and just decided to skip by because they knew they could probably get away with it? And I just don't think that's healthy game development. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that. I don't want to start plotting names or anything, but do you feel like this game could have been rushed? Because I do. I do feel like these games quite rushed. There were definitely some positives that I had with the game. For example, because the Pokemon Company didn't show too many new Pokemon, playing the game not knowing of the Pokemon was actually pretty exciting. Getting to see new Pokemon, the new Galarian forms, was really cool. That was definitely my favorite aspect of the games, being able to discover new Pokemon. That was badass. And some of the forms they picked too, some of the Pokemon they chose to give new forms is just like, wow, like Darmanitan, really? You gave you a new form? That's cool. And they gave Mr. Mime a new evolution. Like, it's crazy, and it was really, really cool to see. And Dynamaxing was just, it was okay. They limit Dynamaxing so that you can only do it in the gym battles and some other random areas, but not much. They don't let you abuse it. And I don't know if I'm happy about that or not, because I didn't want to use it that much because it's like overpowered. But at the same time, they cut Megas and Z moves for it. So was it worth the cut? I'm not sure. I'm seriously not sure. But my general thoughts right now is just the first 3 hours were actually really fun. But after that, the game slows down so hard. And all you do is do the gyms, and there's not really a story, and there's not too much side stuff to do, and the post-game wasn't great either, that it has definitely left me, right now, with probably the most mediocre Pokemon experience I've ever had in any of these games. It's made me really upset. Like, I've actually been really down, because I wanted the games to be good for me. I wanted these games to be super fun. And obviously, it's not going to be the same for everyone else. I hope you're all enjoying it. Seriously, I hope you're all finding things to enjoy from Sword and Shield. I'm just not. I'm not enjoying it at all. And that does upset me. But I'll have the full review out pretty soon. I usually take a day or two to like think about it and process everything I've got before writing the review. Then I can start it and be as clear as possible, and maybe my thoughts have changed. Somehow in this case, I don't think they will. So I'm sorry if I'm disappointing any of you guys with this, but it's just how it is. I was really disappointed with Pokemon Sword and Shield.